Hello, 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 and welcome back to Mondays with Matt, Costa Rica edition. Yes, I am down here in beautiful Nosara, Costa Rica for a 9-10 day adventure with my buddies Aaron Dowdy, Victor Odo, and a host of dozens of other amazing folks. But I wasn't going to allow that to stop me from checking in with you and sharing some of the things that I'm learning and experiencing in my weekly show, Mondays with Matt. For those of you that may not know, my name is Matt Schaefer. I'm a transformational speaker and coach for women. I coach women around empowerment, connection, and relationship, and I am absolutely obsessed with the work that I do and the women that I serve. My marvelous, magnificent, meticulous, I'm trying to think of a third M word because I love alliteration, magnets. Hi, Michelle Healy. Michelle Healy's on, one of my amazing magnets. Give me a 1 to all my magnets who watch the show each and every week. I love you all dearly, and I'm so excited and delighted to have you as part of my tribe. And this is my weekly show, Mondays with Matt, my weekly live co-creative conversation that I have been having with you every week without fail since January 2nd of 2017. Yep. For over 4 years, I've been coming to you once a week to have a live conversation about really whatever is passionate and alive for me in the moment in my life, whether it be emotional intelligence, leadership, spirituality, adventure, growth, expansion. I just come to you once a week and we just talk about it. It's never scripted. I always think about what I want to talk about and I decide it literally a few minutes before I get on the air, because you know what? That's what matters. What matters is what we're feeling in the moment, because guess what, y'all? The present moment is perfect. The present moment is absolutely perfect, and that's going to play very nicely into the theme of this week's show, living and loving Pura Vida. Pura Vida. Give me a 1 if you've heard of Pura Vida. Pura Vida is like do any of you know what it is before I just give it away? Because that's the theme of the show, and I think it's something that each of us could use a little bit more Pura Vida in our lives, in our relationships, and in the way that we conduct ourselves in the world. So I'm really excited to have you all here. Let me know where you're watching from and that you're excited to be here on Mondays with Matt. Meryl says, Costa Rica, lucky you. Yes, I am blessed. I am so lucky to be here. And if you haven't been to Costa Rica yet, maybe you've never heard of Pura Vida. Okay, so Pura Vida in Spanish means pure life. And it is the national motto of Costa Rica. So much so that people are continuously saying it to each other all the time. So you might be like, adios, pura vida. Or, hola, pura vida. It's built into the DNA of this society, but it's so much more than just a word. It's so much more than just a phrase. Pura Vida embodies the consciousness of this place, and I noticed it from the minute that I got off the plane. And it's hard to describe unless you've been here. But when you come to Costa Rica, everybody here is so pleasant and happy and warm and direct. And they're just like, and they're connected, and they want to connect with you. And there's just a beauty and a warmth to woven into the fabric of this place that is really, it's beautiful, because, when you're from America, right, and you're from other places, like we have different cultural paradigms, but very rarely do you come to a place in America where everybody is constantly looking at you and smiling and asking you how you're doing and genuinely mean it when they do that, right? And so that's something we're going to talk about today, is how we can embody and live the Pura Vida life in our own lives, right? Because I think all of us could use a healthy dose of this energy and of this dynamic in our own life and relationships. Are y'all down with that? Give me a 1, because here's the thing. What I see, Judy says 2 times, it is so beautiful. Yeah, and it's easy to try to explain away Pura Vida as, oh, well, these folks just live in paradise. So that's why, they're happy all the time. I don't think that that's it. I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt. But, there's a lot of people here that are living in poverty, right? There's a lot of people here that have a lot of stuff going on in their life. But you know what? People are happy here. And so I'm going to break down, let's walk through some of the elements of what I feel living Pura Vida is. And from my experience and from what I've read and what I've seen about it, and then we can talk about how we can implement and integrate those into their lives. And so the first and most important aspect of living Pura Vida, as far as I can see, is being present. Being truly present to where you're at and what you're doing. When you walk around Costa Rica, people are not sitting here hunched down looking at their screens. People are not sitting here lost in thought, stressed out about shit. People are looking around. People are looking at other people. People are smiling. People are engaged in their physical environment. And I want you to think to yourself, how many times are you out there in your life, in your goings-on out there in the world, and you're not even aware of what the hell is happening? How many times are you driving and you're not even aware of what's going on? So often we're so disconnected from where we're at, what we're doing, who's around us, how we're being seen or experienced, that we're just sleepwalking through our lives. Am I right or am I right? I know that I'm right. And so if we want to live Pura Vida in our own lives, the first decision we get to make is that we get to commit to being present with the people around us, present to whatever activity we're involved and engaged in. So often we're just not paying attention because we're thinking about what distracts us from being present, the shit we still have to do, how much we don't want to do this, the problems that we have on our plate. We're all freaking so disconnected from the present moment and disconnected from ourselves and disconnected from each other. And you know what? What are we doing? We're basically just giving our lives away when we do that. Time is just being sucked out of us all the time, you know? And it's diffusing our energy, it's undermining our relationships, and it's not going to get you any of the things that you want. So if you want to live Pura Vida, make a commitment to living in the present moment. Why? Because the present moment is all that exists. And you know what else? The present moment is perfect. This present moment is absolutely and utterly perfect. And if we're not paying attention to it, right? If we're not embodying that, if we're not embracing that, then we're committing an act of blasphemy, right? Because the present moment is a divine gift that we've been given. It's the only point in time that we have to create magic in our lives. You are not creating things in the future. And the past no longer exists. So if you're not taking the time and energy to really say, hey, what do I want to create in this moment? Do I want to create a smile in the life of the person, down the hallway from me? I was sitting outside of the airport, right, when I first got here, right? And I was waiting for the shuttle to come to the hotel where I was staying at in Liberia. And this older woman just next to me, this older Costa Rican woman, she just struck up a conversation with me out of absolutely nothing, out of thin air. And so my first thought, as a cynical American, right, was, oh man, what does this woman want from me? Is she going to try to sell me something? Or is she going to try to get a ride somewhere? Which just breaks my heart to think that went through my head. Because she literally just stood there and she's like, hey, amigo, where are you from? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then she starts just telling me about her kids. And she started telling me about her son who's autistic, but he's like a brilliant engineer. And he's going to go to America and he's going to college for engineering. And he's like blind in one eye and doing all this stuff. And she just was so open. And that's another huge aspect, I think, of living Pura Vida, in addition to being present and being truly connected to the world around you, is being open with the world, being open to show who you are, being open to connecting to other people. So I want to ask you, are you doing that in your life? Are you practicing conscious openness, conscious connection, conscious vulnerability? Because here's the thing, I know that it's tough. I know that it's tough to do it. I know that it's tough to do it when you don't feel like it. I know that it's tough to do it when you've had a tough day. I know it's tough to do it when some people don't appreciate or respect it, but you know what? That doesn't mean that we don't get to do it, right? Because the instant that we close ourselves off, the instant that we disconnect from the present moment, the instant we decide that we no longer show who we are to the world, guess what happens? It kills a part of who we are. It takes away from the beauty of this collective experience, this Pura Vida that's available to all of us. Right? Luisa says, yes, I love having random conversations with people I don't know. Yeah, it's so much fun. It's so much fun to do that. And I ended up having a beautiful experience with this woman for half an hour, for no other reason other than the fact to just have it. There wasn't a point beyond the shared experience that we were having. And that's an important thing. That's an important aspect, I believe, of Pura Vida. In addition to this, is not having everything have to have a result. Everything doesn't have to be to get to something else. People here truly take their time and enjoy their experiences of their life simply for the fact that they're having an experience. Not everything has to have an outcome or an ulterior motive or an agenda. Do you see what I'm saying? People here, they live their lives slowly. They take their time. When you're on Costa Rica time, I'm learning this, right? Costa Rica time is anywhere from a half an hour or more later than the scheduled time of whatever, because everything moves a little slower here. It just does, because nobody's rushing around. And I think that's part of what comes with presence, right? Is nobody's rushing. Everybody understands and has patience and compassion for everybody else. Can you imagine how different our lives would be if we practiced, conscious patience and compassion for other people, and we were no longer running on some strict timeline? Lori Middleton says, sometimes I feel like I'm too open and people don't know what to think of it. Well, exactly. But see, you're only too open by the definition of the cultural paradigm that we live in, that people just usually aren't open. Like people look at people that are open and they look at it with cynicism. They project their own trauma into it. And that's why that openness gets taken for granted, or it gets viewed with suspicion and judgment. That's nothing wrong with you. That's nothing wrong with you at all, But like imagine, Jeanette says it perfectly here. People outside of the USA, they move slower. They're more present, and when everybody as a collective adopts and embraces this cultural paradigm, the collective energy of this place is just pure joy. It is, right? And we can create that. We can craft that within our own little personal universe by embodying that ourselves, right? So being present, being connected, slowing down, not always having to rush to an outcome. Just being able to enjoy experiences for virtue of the fact that they happened. Like that's a huge intention of mine over the course of this trip, For so much of my life and in my normal life and in my normal business and everything, I feel like I'm constantly going from one thing to the next, one thing to the next, one thing to the next, trying to get an outcome. Can any of y'all relate? Are any of y'all on board with that? Give me a one. If you're one of these people that are constantly moving on to the next thing. So I'll even get impatient just in casual conversation, even with people that I care about, because I'm like sitting here being like, shit, I'm enjoying this conversation, but I don't, but I'm also feeling like this is time I could be spending on building my business or in doing this or in doing that. I don't want to do that anymore. Like I don't want to sacrifice or be not fully present in my conversations and engagements and actions with other people because there's something else in my head that I feel like I should be doing. Do you feel me there? Like that's just a shitty way to live. And when you do that, you're robbing that other person of your full intention, and you're attention, and you're robbing yourself of the experience of truly connecting and seeing that person. And I'm really in a place in my life where like valuing and building better relationships, better personal relationships, better family relationships, a better romantic relationship. Like these are all things that are hugely important to me. And making being fully present and pura vida in my personal relationships across all areas of my life is a huge priority. Because I am one of those people that has a tendency to be strung out on distraction, strung out on my phone, strung out on social media, constantly seeking that sense of validation and that next thing, And again, all of that's taking us out of the present moment. And it's not going to be living that Pura Vida life and building the sort of life and relationships and freedom that we're all capable of. Lori Middleton says, I find that when I take my time, I enjoy the process and I'm much more present. Exactly. When we slow down and we just allow ourselves to have experiences and to move slowly and deliberately and consciously, we're going to make better decisions. We're going to enjoy the process of our lives a hell of a lot more. We are. And it just makes life a better journey. And I guarantee you'll become more creative too, right? Because so often when we're rushing from one thing to another, what are we doing? We're operating in fight or flight, right? What's up, Lizzie Beth? Good to see you, hon. We're operating in fight or flight. We're constantly like moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. And when we're operating in fight or flight, do you think we're in our best creative space? Absolutely freaking not. I honestly feel that stress and anxiety and overwhelm puts a stranglehold on our creativity. It truly does. And that is not a way to live. It's just not a way to live if you want to be creative, if you want to build things that are meaningful, right? You get to release that need to constantly be pushing on to the next thing and recognize that outside of who you are and what exists in this moment, nothing else is real. And if you're living in the past or you're living in the future, you're living in a moment that does not exist. And Elizabeth says, the guy that I was seeing just ended it with me. I need me some mat time. Elizabeth, You are such a goddess. What a blessing that this guy has released himself from your world so that you can find a man that truly honors and sees and cherishes and celebrates you for the radiant gem that you are. Like, I'm delighted. Anytime a breakup happens, especially like that, it's a party for me, because it means that you created space in your life for, someone who truly sees and understands the depth of who you are, right? Like, and that's the thing, and for my own relationships moving forward, I want to be in a relationship where that is so deeply bilateral, right? Where both me and my partner, and it's something I'm thinking about a lot lately, like where me and my partner both see the highest and best and greatest versions of each other. Like simultaneously, I don't want that person to see me that way and me not to see them that same way. It gets to be 1,000% bilateral, right? So maybe this guy saw you maybe you saw this guy that way, but he didn't see you that way. Then you know what? That's a wonderful thing that he's no longer in your life. And that goes for all of y'all out there. Like any relationship that is not 100% reciprocal and 100% where you're both like a huge fuck yes on each other, that's a relationship that none of us have any time for. We just don't. Because that is settling and compromising and settling for less than we're worthy of. It is not living pura vida. So are you taking your time? Are you being present? Are you cherishing and celebrating your relationships, your friendships? Are you being open? Are you letting people know how you feel, right? Are you practicing conscious vulnerability? Are you looking for all the positives of what's happening in your life? That's another aspect of living Pura Vida, because it's all about living a pure life, right? A pure life is a life that focuses on the positive, right? It's a life that focuses on all the beautiful things that are happening in your life, because no matter how hard life may feel, I guarantee you, if you really committed to using your consciousness to look for the blessings that exist in your life, they are everywhere. They are everywhere. You don't have to be in Costa Rica surrounded by like massive howler monkeys, which by the way, the howler monkeys out here are fucking gigantic. They're like 30, 40 pounds. When they start doing their thing, they sound like gorillas. I mean, it's intense. These guys are they're like giant dogs that like live up in the mango trees outside here. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, right? And they're eating the mangoes, and the mangoes are crashing on the ground. I mean, it's wild. It's so cool. It's so cool. But you don't need to be here to see the blessings and the gratitude in your life, Like, no matter where you're at. I mean, there are weeks and there are times when I'm spending a whole month, basically in lockdown in my room, putting on a course or whatever. And there's still a million blessings. I live in my own house. I have the freedom to be wherever I want. I have 2 adorable dogs. I'm in good health, And ladies, about these men that say they're not emotionally ready, that's a man who's disqualifying himself from your life. Who knows if it's true or not? Who gives a shit? Whatever his excuse is for saying he's not wanting to be in a relationship with you is irrelevant. What it is important to focus on is the gratitude for the fact that he's disqualifying himself from wasting your time anymore. You want to thank God that he's taking himself out of the equation, right? Because life is too short. This Pura Vida life is too short for us to be dumping our time and energy into men, especially men who have a lot of custody and divorce issues like Lizzie Beth's man apparently had, right? That's going in and that's rolling those dice, whenever you go into a connection with a man or you build an emotional attachment to someone who's got a lot of emotional issues going on with other situations in his life, it's a gamble, right? So you gambled, you enjoyed the experience for a little while, it's come to an end, find the blessings in it and move on. Take those into the rest of your life. Are you with me? Give me one for Elizabeth. Elizabeth. And hi, Angela Marshall. Good to see you, hon. So here's the thing. So the Matt challenge this week is for you to ask yourself, am I living the Pura Vida life? Am I present? Am I connected? Am I open? Am I taking my time to live my life? Am I focusing on the positive things? This shit is not complicated. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not complicated. We make it so much more complicated than we have to. by allowing ourselves to be perpetually distracted, strung out on social media, focusing on, all the shit that drives us crazy about the world or about our family or about politics or about our body. We do it all to ourselves, So then when we look at ourselves and we're like, wow, I'm so perpetually frustrated and exhausted and depleted and stressed out and anxious, that's nobody's fault, right? But it is our responsibility to recognize that we are the sole uncontested author of our lives. We are the sole uncontested director and conductor of our focus. And nobody's putting a gun to our head and taking our hands and making us spend 20 minutes scrolling through Instagram, comparing ourselves to other people and telling ourselves, well, my life sucks compared to all these people, right? Or going on Netflix and watching, Walking Dead for 3-4 hours when you could be, connecting with people in your life. And I'm saying this to myself. I have a problem with The Walking Dead. I need to stop. So I get to live Pura Vida and stop watching zombie slaughter all the time. It is not supporting my Pura Vida life. So check in with yourself and ask yourself, which of these do I want to focus on? Do I want to focus on being more present? Do I want to focus on practicing more conscious connection, being more open, being more positive, being more experiential? That's another thing people hear. They're very experiential. They're all about having experiences with other people. Experiences with themselves, they're going out and doing stuff. They're not just sitting behind a screen, watching other people live their lives. Fuck that. Life was made to be lived. We are ships that were built ships were not built to sit in a harbor, you know what I'm saying? We were not built to sit in a harbor. We were built to be out there on the seas. We as human beings were designed to be in a state of constructive tension, like stretching outside of possibility into the unknown, becoming and learning more about who we are through the act of expansion. That's what we were meant to do and be in this world, right? And so whenever we're not embracing that, we're sacrificing who we are. And so I hope each one of you goes out there, you embrace. Are you down? Give me the mat challenge. Give me a 1 if you're down with this mat challenge this week. Because life is too damn short to sit behind a screen, to not be present, to not, to not be connected with other people. Human beings were built for connection. That's what Brene Brown told us, right? The healing power of vulnerability. We were built to connect to other people. So when you're not connecting with others, when you're not living in the present moment, when you're sitting behind a screen freaking watching the minutes of your life just tick away one after another while you just keep watching zombies be smashed in an infinity of different ways. And listen, I just obviously still get out and enjoy my life, but I really do need to be conscious of this Walking Dead thing, because it can't be good for my consciousness to just like watch thousands of zombies getting slaughtered in a myriad of ways. But so pick one of these, pick one or more of these and make them your focus for this week. Get out in the world, build better relationships, have more fun, be more present, be more engaged with the people around you, have a conversation with a fucking stranger, focus on the positive in your life, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So how do you want to live today? Okay? Have balance. Exactly, Louisa Dornian. All right, y'all. Lots of love. I hope you enjoyed this Mondays with Matt. Now, I'm going to go be present and have fun and live Pura Vida with my dear friends outside on the patio. I hope all of you have an incredible week, and I'll be back with you from Costa Rica yet again next Monday for another edition of Mondays with Matt. Thank you so much for joining me. Such a wonderful opportunity. I love that I'm still able to connect with y'all no matter where I am in the world. And no matter what I had to do to get down here, if you haven't watched my last video from last night where I told the story of my insane trip to get down here to Costa Rica, go watch that. It's super funny. Lots of love, y'all. I will see you next week. Pura Vida.